We have with us now, ladies and gentlemen, a very good man, a representative from Florida, Greg Steube. Greg Steube, how are you feeling since you fell off that roof? We actually were very, very worried about you.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel great. Healed in the name of Jesus. I had a bad concussion, torn ligaments in my neck. I had a punctured lung and a broken pelvis. And about 4 months after that, I was playing for the Republicans on the mound, pitching in the congressional baseball game.
And you did very well, right?
Yeah, we won again. The last 3 years we've won, and almost hit another home run. I hit one out a couple of years ago. This time it bounced in the warning track and bounced out, but almost hit another one out.
Are you like a semi-pro baseball player or something?
Well, I wish I could. After the home run hit at Nats Park a couple of years ago, I was hoping I'd get some phone calls from some recruiters, but that didn't work out.
Well, you're about to do something that I agree with 100%. You've had enough of the Biden crime family, and particularly since Nancy Pelosi's lowered the bar on impeachment. Impeachment for Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats was any time they disagreed with you. Tell me what you're up to here.
Yeah, so let me just back up. I mean, and that segue is good. I mean, they impeached Trump for a phone call to a foreign leader. That was their first foray into impeachment since I've been in Congress. And when we got elected, look, Republicans don't work and just operate that way. We want to do the investigations, get the information. There's been 2 impeachment resolutions that have been filed, both on the border, which I 100% support. I think he could be impeached alone on the border. But all of these corruption, extortion, bribery, all of the things that through the investigations that multiple House committees have put together, I think it's important that the American people see that we're working for them and they're seeing all these facts and evidence. So tomorrow I intend on filing a resolution of impeachment on Joe Biden on bribery, extortion, obstruction of justice, fraud, financial involvement in drugs and prostitution. All of this has come from the information that a variety of different committees, some I serve on, some I don't, that have done these investigations. And we just learned recently, Comer from the Oversight Committee said that, it's now $20 million the Biden family has gotten from foreign entities, Ukraine, now a Russian oligarch, all these different Chinese Communist Party. And these are crimes that have been committed. And we now have testimony from witnesses. We have financial records. We have individuals who are business partners that just recently last week, Devin Archer testified about his involvement in all of this. So you have Bob Alinsky who testified in his involvement in all this. Eyewitness accounts to what Joe Biden did while he was vice president, leveraging his position to make money for his family. And some of these things were done while he was president, that he was making good on some of these promises. So being a lawyer and being a prior JAG officer, we take a reasonable approach to these things, do the investigation. And I think it is beyond the time now to file an impeachment resolution and move forward with an impeachment inquiry on Joe Biden.
And being a lawyer, I think you have Biden dead to rights in one area in particular. It's FARA. His son committed all these FARA violations, and he was a co-conspirator. That is, he's a co-conspirator to the violation of FARA, which is a felony. And for all the reasons you state, he's sitting there with the phone and the oligarchs. He's meeting the oligarchs. He's flying off to see the oligarchs. He has oligarchs in his office, his vice president. He picks up the phone and he makes a call to get rid of one of the prosecutors, and on and on and on. So even there, you don't have to prove he took one damn penny, other than he greased the skids for his son. And I've been trying to make this point as an old litigator, old chief of staff to an attorney general, that's low-hanging fruit, Congressman. And I don't care what the media and the rest say, that he is a co-conspirator in the violation of FARA. What do you think?
I agree with you. I should have thrown that in there. I mean, that's another one that there's so many different crimes that have been committed between himself and his family members. And what is beyond the pale is a guy who served in the military and swore an oath to the Constitution. You have people who should be held accountable, and there is a different legal standard for those people with last name Biden than the rest of America, and it should not be that way. And I know we can't prosecute him as a sitting president, but we can sure move forward with an impeachment inquiry on these multiple crimes that have been committed by him and his family.
We're here with Greg Steube, congressman, lawyer, patriot. I want to ask you a few questions, Congressman, about the other side of this stuff. You have a judge in Washington, D.C., in this Chutkan, who donated to Obama, who worked at the law firm at the same time that Hunter Biden was at the law firm, who is clearly a Democrat hack. Her rulings in the other January 6 cases have been harsher than anybody else's. She ruled against Trump on the major executive privilege case because Biden wouldn't assert privilege on behalf of Trump, which then made it possible for this prosecutor to get all kinds of information from people the President of the United States consulted with, the Vice President, his Chief of Staff, destroying that kind of a relationship. So this court, the jury, which will be made up of Democrats from D.C., the prosecutor who used to work under Eric Holder, the whole goal here then, he wants these trials started on January 2nd, which is really outrageous considering all that the defense has to do. It's clear that they want to violate his due process rights because he can't spend time defending his liberty, and they want to destroy his presidential campaign because he can't do that either. Don't you think his lawyers need to get with it a little bit and maybe file an interlocutory appeal, depending how it goes tomorrow with this judge and her protective order, and get this matter to the circuit court if they can? And even though that circuit court's been expanded and packed by Obama and then Harry Reid, and get it to the damn Supreme Court. It's not a sure thing, but it's better than nothing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with that approach, and I think ultimately a lot of these cases will probably end up before the U.S. Supreme Court, which on the facts and the law should be beneficial to President Trump on just the basis of all of these things. And what this is, if Trump wasn't polling where he was and he wasn't the number one person to take on Joe Biden and wasn't winning by like 37 points in the primary on the Republican side, none of this would even be happening. And you have the complete weaponization and politicization of the justice system. And it started years and years ago under the Obama administration, where you were using the FISA process to spy on the Trump campaign. You were utilizing federal security resources, secret courts to spy on individuals that all for political purposes, all based on a dossier. And now, because they know they're going to lose again, they're going to do whatever they can to bring these cases. And what's interesting is politically is this has done nothing but help the president. Obviously, they thought that this would President Trump.
Let me just interrupt you quickly there. You know, I told the president this. Polls are fleeting. They could drop in 5 minutes. And they're not aiming at the MAGA Republicans, the 30% of the electorate. They're aiming at the other 70%. And so Correct. The polls within the Republican Party and the base are solid, 50%, 56%, depending. But that's not enough to win the general election. So they're going after Trump. They're going after that 70%. They hate the rest of us, we conservatives. That's what they're doing. But regardless of that, they shouldn't get away with this, should they?
No, absolutely not. I think there's things, and there's been a number of members of Congress that have talked about this, defunding Jack Smith's investigation, defunding part of the FBI that's part of this, defunding part of the DOJ. That's the really only legislative tool that we have in the House, because we control the purse strings. The challenge with that is, as you know, we have a Democratic Senate, and it'll be hard through the budgetary process. They're probably not going to take some of those things on. But that's the frustrating part, being a patriot myself, seeing this misjustice that is going on and the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI, and being a member of Congress, and there's not much you can do other than try to defund them, talk about it, bring it out. I think ultimately, like you said in the beginning of this conversation, is this has got to get before the U.S. Supreme Court to move this in the right direction, shut down all this complete corrupt activity that people like Jack Smith are doing, and hopefully we can get beyond this and move forward as a country.
Do your fellow Republicans, as best as you can tell up there, do your fellow Republicans understand that this is a war, not just on Trump, but the Republican Party, that if they get away with this and there's no consequence, the Democrats will do it over and over again and more?
The conservatives definitely do. I don't know what that number is within the conference of 222. It's those, and I don't operate this way, but it's those members that are in tougher districts that feel like they have to capitulate to certain things and do certain things. Like when I file this impeachment resolution tomorrow, you're not going to see 222 members that are going to co-sponsor it. There's members that try to quote unquote represent their districts. The conservatives are there 100%. But what's frustrating is you saw what happened when they went after Trump for completely egregious things in the impeachment and all the Democrats stuck together. You have so much evidence that Joe Biden and his family have committed federal crimes while he was vice president, acted on it while he was president. That is impeachable conduct. That is high crimes and misdemeanors and deserves to be removed from office. But it becomes political for some of these people. And I wish they would put their own political aspirations aside and do what's best for our country.
And if you succeed, it's an inquiry, right? You don't go right to a vote. I suppose it's an inquiry, no?
Yeah, it'll go to the Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee will open the impeachment inquiry. Then you're going to have an investigation. It's similar to a trial where both sides get to present evidence and you have a hearing. And then that will all happen long before it gets to the floor for a vote. So another opportunity to, investigate further things. And Mr. Comer on the Oversight Committee has now said that he's going to subpoena financial information from Joe Biden himself and Hunter Biden himself, because there's a ton of litany of evidence that they basically were using the same bank accounts. So Hunter would get the money and then he would just transfer money to dad, or he would pay for stuff for dad. So Comer has made comment that he's going to subpoena some of the records, and I think that's absolutely an appropriate thing to do and use that in the impeachment inquiry, as the Judiciary Committee should move forward on that.
I understand he's getting no help from the Treasury Department. Is that what you hear? They have to go straight to the banks?
Oh, yeah. So, yes. So he's subpoenaing the banks, because Treasury, I mean, this is the Democrats' playbook. Stall, 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 stall. They did it with Hunter Biden's charges so that statute of limitations would toll. They know that there's an election next year in November. So if they can stall for as long as humanly possible and not give us the information, force us to go to court, that takes time. Subpoenas take time. Discovery takes time. They know they keep moving the ball down the road, and they're absolutely doing that as a strategy to protect the president.
Mm-hmm. It just amazes me what they get away with. But I think in large measure they get away with it because they have this Democrat Party press that is corrupt as hell, that includes many people who worked on the Hill. And so they know they're going to get covered. The Biden stuff is not covered, and everything about Trump is covered. About right, no? Yeah,
if you talk to people that either don't watch the news or watch mainstream media, they don't know half of the things that'll be laid out in this impeachment inquiry or in this impeachment resolution of all these facts that have been made apparent to the American people, because the mainstream media isn't talking about it. They'd rather talk about Trump's indictments, which of course are timed precisely with things that are coming out against President Biden and Hunter Biden and that sort of thing, to try to quell the information. Thankfully, Elon is at Twitter now, but Facebook and Google and all those do the same thing. It's a conglomeration of the lefts in social media, the mainstream media, and that run the federal government on the administrative side right now, that are completely in cahoots for whatever reason to protect the Biden family.
Well, I'm glad you're back, Mr. Stube. I would also say this. When I read this morning that a federal judge, now retired, who worked for Patrick Leahy for 10 years, and then Obama put her on the court, she was the chief judge for the district. She rules 100% for the government against Trump, and her last ruling was to deny Trump attorney-client privilege. She did it in secret, then she retired and left. When I read that in January, Smith goes to her to get a secret search warrant of Trump's Twitter account. This is a former president, for God's sakes, to get a secret search warrant of his Twitter account. And she says, you know what? You're right. He's a flight risk. He's a flight risk. He's going to leave the country. Does that not tell you how corrupt this whole damn thing is?
Yep, it's beyond the pale. I mean, it's so frustrating being up there and seeing all this and what you can do to try to stop it. And ultimately, it's not going to be stopped until President Trump is reelected president and we don't have Joe Biden in the White House anymore. But until then, it's just every day fighting the fight, trying to bring this information before the American people and trying to save this country, because we are on a downward spiral because of this administration as it relates to our freedoms and as it relates to the equal justice system that is completely corrupted right now.
By the way, with your filing, there, as you point out, there will be an impeachment inquiry. In both of Trump's impeachments, the second one, there was no inquiry. They just took it right to the hangman's noose. And in the first one, the defense didn't have a real opportunity to defend, to participate in the depositions, to provide, exculpatory information, nothing. That's the first time in American history we've conducted impeachments this way. I just wanted to remind you, so when people start attacking you, I think you can at least say, oh, we're going to afford your Biden an opportunity that you didn't afford Trump. At least that's my thinking, Congressman.
Yeah, and what's fascinating about all of this is not once has Joe Biden said that this financial information isn't correct, that Hunter Biden didn't receive this. The White House hasn't sent out a press release saying, oh, no, all of this is false. That financial information is false. These statements from Hunter Biden's laptop, they haven't actually defended any of this. So it'll be interesting when we do, because we will do it the right way, give them the opportunity to defend themselves, what they actually say to try to rebut financial information, witness testimony, and all of that. They'll just lie and say, oh, that's not true. But the American people are smarter than that. And it's beyond time to start this process to correct some of these wrongs that have happened in our country.
And it's a matter of Republicans making the case. Stop being marble mouths. Get out there and explain exactly what's being done to our country and why it affects them. Don't let the Democrats get away with their lies. Congressman, I hope you come back. Greg Steube, we're glad you're doing well, my friend, and take care of yourself.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me anytime.
All right. God bless. Take care of yourself.